Welcome to another episode of The Case Files of Eddie James, the exciting new show within a show that gives you, the listener, both a thrilling mystery and a peek into the world behind the scenes. Brought to you by Bizzo Soap, the versatile soap that can't be beat for dishes, gets your white sparkling white, keeps the colors of the rest of your laundry at their brand new brilliance, and yet is gentle enough for washing your hands and face. One soap for so many uses, which saves the savvy housewife time and money. Bizzo Soap for the Bizzo busy woman. The halls of KTMQ are abuzz with gossip. It seems that the stars of their hit television show, It's an Anderson Life, are having an extramarital fling. Everyone has an opinion on the matter, including the cast and crew of The Case Files of Eddie James.
I just can't get over it. Mary Stratton, of all people, having an affair with Guy Manley? Oh, I could have sworn she was madly in love with her husband.
So did I. I also thought Guy was madly in love with his wife. They sure seemed stuck on each other when I ran into him at the Blue Danube about a month ago. Maybe it's just all a big misunderstanding.
That's what I'd like to think. People are so eager to think the worst of others. One time, I went to dinner with Meryl and Ryan. We had been rehearsing for hours. We needed a break. That was all there was to it. We went to this little chop suey place. I didn't know there was a reporter there, too. If he'd been paying attention, he would have noticed that we had pulled scripts out and were discussing the other characters. He didn't care about that, of course. He just jumped to conclusions and reported a steamy love affair. Luckily for us, there just happened to be a movie director at the restaurant as well, and he refuted the whole thing. Marilyn's career could have been ruined just because some jerk wanted to make a buck.
I remember seeing that in the papers. I'm glad it was cleared up.
Me too. The fact that it would have been Marilyn's career that was ruined really steams me. Why is the woman in an affair always vilified? It seems that a man is never at fault in these things.
Oh, it's a man's world.
Oh, not every man is like that, ladies. There are plenty of us who at least try to be honest and upstanding. There are also women out there who are, how shall we say, less than honest. One time, I was dating a woman who not only didn't tell me she had a husband, but insisted she'd never been married. It was sheer luck I found out about him before he found out about me. He was a boxer.
You're right. There are awful people on both sides of the fence. Russell, you've been awfully quiet. Is it because you know something and don't want to tell? You seem to know everything about everyone around here.
I? A purveyor of possibly counterfactual hearsay? Never! I would sooner rip my own eyes from their sockets.
Ew, that was a little drastic. Not to mention disgusting.
So, you do know something, but you won't repeat it.
I do not know a thing regarding your current topic of conversation. I can only corroborate Lorraine's eyewitness account. I, too, saw Guy in a passionate embrace with his wife not 2 days ago. It is my humble opinion that the Fourth Estate is comprised of a legion of shysters at the very best, and murderous buffoons at the worst. I'm certain a single interaction was intentionally and gleefully misinterpreted.
Sounds to me like you're mad at the press for a more personal reason. Did they not show up for your movie premiere?
Oh, they showed. There was quite a gaggle of reporters there. In fact, they even gave our efforts a favorable review. I am just fed up with the complete lack of respect given to those of us with even a speck of notoriety. We are who they decide we are. No more and no less.
I have to agree with them this time. They're only interested in selling papers, not the actual truth. And people love scandal. I'm willing to bet everyone in this room has been the subject of false rumors, spoken or written. For me, there was a rumor going around for a while that I once had a wife who was sickly, which is why she was never seen with me in public. For the record, I've never been married. I took care of my sister when she had adult onset measles, though, which is where I think they got that idea.
You're right, Clint. About me anyway, and I'm a relative nobody. Well, I think we need to fight back somehow. We can't let this keep happening.
Yeah, you don't have to. The union's working on it. I'm on the committee. We can't stop the press from doing what they do, but we can dispel rumors and educate the public on how to spot the lies.
I wish you much luck. You're going to need it. As Phil said, people love scandal.
And they love tearing down successful people, or even just people who aren't exactly like them. I know at least a couple of us have also had to deal with, well, preconceived notions, for lack of a more polite term.
You mean prejudiced. Don't be polite about that. It's just plain wrong, and the people who practice it are anything but polite. I've experienced some, being a woman who's not afraid to be herself and do what she wants to do. But anything I've seen pales in comparison to what Clint must go through daily. I know it's not my fault, Clint, but I'm sorry.
Thanks. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm sorry too. I stopped going anywhere we couldn't both go. Friends are much more important than a steak.
Yeah,
That's right.
exactly.
You are
Yeah.
so right about that. I
betcha.
agree.
Well, thanks, everyone. It's nice to be part of a family like you all. I'm truly touched. Maybe someday everyone will feel the way you do.
Well, I think we should start our own campaign to fight all of these injustices. We all have a right to live our lives without fear, and just the union isn't enough.
I think education is a better way to go. Butting heads won't change anyone's mind, but showing them the truth might get a couple of people to reverse opinions.
I second that. In fact, I know a group was working on this very thing, and they would love to have a few recognizable faces attached to their project.
Yes, I will be more than happy to support your cause financially, but I'm afraid my face will not be available. My management is very strict about where I appear and with whom, and you do know that my heart and soul are both with you.
Are you kidding, Russell? That is the absolute most ridiculous...
It's okay, Lorraine. I've seen those contracts myself.
Yeah, another thing we have to stop.
Speaking of stopping things, we'd better stop talking and start recording. The deadline John put in this one makes me feel especially anxious, even if it is just a story.
Oh, me too. I have to keep reminding myself to slow down at the end. It's so exciting.
Thanks, Millie. To the microphones, everyone.
The city is a lonely place. I know. I walk its streets. I'm Eddie James. Being a lonely man in that lonely city gives me a chance to see things other people miss, and that makes me a good detective. Walk with me and see for yourself. We try to get it right. By we, I mean law enforcement. I know there are dirty cops and, I'll admit, corrupt detectives. I play by the rules most of the time, and I like to think most cops are good. Even the good ones get it wrong sometimes, so. And an innocent person is accused and even convicted for something they didn't do. Sometimes the mistakes are caught and corrected, and sometimes they aren't. One case in particular wasn't a mistake I made, but one I managed to correct in the nick of time. It wasn't even my case, not at first. Susie, my gal Friday, and I didn't have any cases that morning. We were at City Hall completing a very important task, renewing our private investigator licenses.
I swear that test was harder than the last time I took it.
Was. I don't know why you're complaining, though. You got a higher score than you did last time. Your shooting test was better, too. Now you rank as a sharpshooter.
I wasn't complaining, really. Just making an observation. You got one of the highest scores ever, I heard. Congrats.
Yeah, thanks. Some of it was dumb luck, but I'll take it.
Not dumb luck, gut instinct. Yours is the best I've ever seen.
Thanks, again. You know, I think this calls for a celebration. Lunch at Musso and Frank's, on me.
Really? Thanks.
Nah, you deserve it. Between those test scores and all the work you've been putting in. Hey, wonder what's going on over there.
Well, it looks like some kind of press conference. I'm more curious about the woman hiding in the corner over there. She's sobbing.
Where? Oh, yeah. Good catch. Judging from the direction she's looking in, I'm going to say she has some connection to that press conference. Let's go find out what's going on.
We have just heard from the governor. He has denied the appeal. The execution will take place at midnight tonight.
So that was the last appeal?
Yes. Apparently it was just procedure. Mr. Culpepper didn't even request it.
I've heard there's a bit of doubt as to the guilt of Mr. Culpepper. Any comment on that?
Mr. Culpepper confessed. As far as I know, no one has stepped forward to refute that, nor has Mr. Culpepper changed his plea. If I were all of you, I'd be making sure I had a pass to attend the execution instead of pestering me. There are only a limited number of seats that will be available to press. If there are no more questions, this concludes the conference.
Culpepper. I don't remember a case with a defendant by that name, do you?
Culpepper. Yeah, murder rap. He confessed to killing one of his clients, the guy who owned La Bella Cucina, the spaghetti palace over on Sunset.
Oh, yeah, I remember now. The guy was shot in the back. How much you want to make a bet that the lady in the corner is Mrs. Culpepper?
That's a bet I refuse to take. Let's go talk to her. The very least we can get her out of here before the news dogs catch her scent and swoop in. Excuse us, but we couldn't help noticing you over here. Is there anything we can do to help?
Oh, I wish there was, but there's nothing anyone can do anymore.
You're Mrs. Culpepper, aren't you?
Yes. I'm about to be the widow Culpepper. It shouldn't happen. My husband is innocent.
But you have no proof, I'm guessing.
Nothing that's admissible. Any testimony I could give doesn't count because I'm his wife. You two aren't reporters, are you? You aren't being pushy and nasty like they always are.
No, we're private detectives. I'm Eddie James, and this is my partner, Susie Beck.
Pleased to know you.
You need to get out of here and quick before the real reporters figure out who you are. We'll help.
Quicker than quick. They've spotted us and they're heading this way.
Let's go. Susie, bring up the rear. We're still on our tail. You better not go home for a while.
I have nowhere else to go.
Come to our office. You can tell us why you think your husband is innocent while you wait for the coast to clear.
Thank you for rescuing me. I still can't believe they chased us like that.
I can. They'll leave us alone here, though. It's private property. And I have an in with the cops, something they all know.
We had just enough tea left for a cup, and I managed to get the hot plate to work. Here you go.
Thank you. It's so nice to have help for a change.
Let us help a little more. Tell us about your husband's case and why you think he's innocent.
He's innocent because I know he is. What do you know about the case?
Almost nothing. Why don't you start at the beginning?
I'll make it brief. My husband Stanley and I are accountants. One of our clients was Mario Di Donato. He owned La Bella Cucina. We did the restaurant account and his personal ones as well. Mr. Di Donato was a very nice man, very generous and kind. The restaurant is not a big place or fancy at all, but because of Mario, it has a very loyal clientele. Well, everyone loved him. They love his wife, Gina, too. Poor Gina. She was devoted to Mario. Anyway, everything was going fine, and it had been going fine for years. I still don't understand why anyone would want to kill Mario, but especially not Stan. Mario paid us well, and the work was all simple and above board. We didn't socialize with him or his wife, so there was no personal relationship. Mario was shot to death one night after the restaurant closed. Stan was home with me. I'm sure of it. Stan refuted it, insisted I was asleep when he slipped out. I don't understand why he did that. I don't understand any of it. And now I'm going to lose him forever.
Maybe we should take a crack at it. Would you be okay with that?
Oh, I would love it if you would, but what's the use? There are only 12 hours until, well, you know. What could you possibly do in that small amount of time?
With any luck, I could free an innocent man and capture a killer. I didn't really think we had a chance to come up with a last-minute miracle, but that one anomaly in Mrs. Culpepper's story intrigued me. She was adamant that her husband was with her at the time of the murder, so why was he adamant that he wasn't, especially if it meant his life? I needed another take on this case, and I knew just who could give it to me. Lieutenant Wayne Hadley is a homicide cop and one of the best cops in town. He's also a friend. Not only would he have answers, he'd be willing to give them to me. I left our client in Susie's capable hands and headed over to the Hollywood station.
The DiDonato murder case? Yeah, I know it. I know it better than most. It was my case. Why?
Do you think Culpepper is really guilty?
That's a heck of a question.
I think it's simple enough. Between you and me, off the record, are you convinced he did it?
Between you and me, completely off the record. No, I'm not convinced at all. I know what I saw at the crime scene. I know what I heard from Culpepper, and the two don't mesh. What could I do, though? He confessed, and he insisted on a speedy trial.
Think he's taken the fall for someone?
Maybe. Or maybe he's covering for someone. Either way, it doesn't matter. He gets the chair in a few hours. Why do you want to know about this case, anyway?
Susie and I met Mrs. Culpepper in City Hall a little while ago. She claims her husband was with her at the time of the murder. I believe her. I know it's clutching at straws, but I want to try and help her.
You're not clutching at straws. You're clutching at the air where the straws were. What could you possibly do? There's, about 11 hours left?
There's even a quarter of a chance to save an innocent life. I've got to try.
Yeah. Do it for me, too. You want to talk to him?
Think it would help?
No. He won't talk to anyone.
So, who should I talk to?
I'd start with the widow, Gina DiDonato. She should be at the restaurant by now. DiDonato had a restaurant manager, Johnny Durant. You should talk to him, too. He knows everything about the business, so he probably knows everything about the business owner as well.
Got it.
Do you remember the case?
Vaguely. Tell me.
There isn't much to tell, really. Mario DiDonato, 42, was found dead in his office, shot in the back. The receipts from the night before were still on his desk, so robbery wasn't a motive. I couldn't find a soul who would say anything bad about him or the restaurant. Did that leave revenge out? Not totally. But it sure made it unlikely.
How did Culpepper fit in?
He didn't. I had the books checked. They were perfect. I couldn't find a single reason for why this guy was dead, and in such a chicken way at that. Then all of a sudden, Culpepper pops up out of nowhere and says he wants to confess. Won't tell me why he did it, just insists he did. Without any evidence to the contrary, I had to take him at his word.
Weird. So, anyone other than the widow and the manager I should talk to?
The waitresses, maybe the head cook. The others, I noticed, just did their jobs and didn't talk to anyone. I think we talked to a couple of regulars, too. I can dig up names and addresses for you.
Excuse me, you've got a call, sir. You're not going to believe who.
Don't make me guess, Feeley. I'm not in the mood. Who?
Stanley Culpepper. The guy who's hitting the chair tonight.
You don't say. I wonder why.
There's one way to find out.
Wise guy. Thanks, Feeley. Lieutenant Hadley.
This is Stanley Culpepper, Lieutenant. Do you remember me?
Of course.
If you remember me, then you must know what today is. I wanted to make sure that you know that you did nothing wrong and that I don't blame you for where I am.
I know. Mr. Culpepper, I have to tell you, I don't think you did anything wrong either, other than take the blame for something you didn't do. If you have any information...
No, I'm at fault. That's all there is to it. I want you to do something for me.
What?
Tell my wife I love her. No matter what. Tell her that, would you? I barred her from coming tonight, so I won't be able to tell her myself.
I'll tell her, Mr. Culpepper.
I have to go. Goodbye, Lieutenant Hadley.
Did you hear all of that?
Yeah, I did. And I'm more convinced than ever that he's covering for someone.
Sounded to me like he was covering for his wife with that no matter what comment.
Yeah, but she's not the murderer, not according to my gut. Something else is going on. I'm going to go get Susie, then head over to the Spaghetti Palace. Maybe the victim's wife or one of the staff have the answer and don't know it.
If not, try looking for clues in the meatballs. They're pretty tasty, and I bet they make them with a secret recipe. Get it?
Yeah. I hope the meatballs are better than your jokes.
Welcome to La Bella Cucina. Please, seat yourself. The lunch special today is the fettuccine Alfredo plate, which comes with garlic bread and a side of green beans.
Hey, thanks, but we're not here to eat.
Say what? What else would you come to a restaurant for? The ambience?
Answers. I'm Eddie James. This is Susie Beck. We're private detectives representing Mrs. Culpepper.
Oh, Mrs. Culpepper! The Mrs. Culpepper that is the wife of Mr. Culpepper, I'm sure. He's such a nice man. I still can't get over that he would do such a thing.
Well, his wife doesn't think you did. Neither do we. Were you here when it happened?
Me? No way. I mean, I wasn't here when it actually happened. I've been a waitress here for, must be almost 2 years now. Real great place to work. The bosses are nice, the customers are nice, even the food is pretty good. But when it comes to quitting time, I'm out of here.
Boss says. How many bosses are there?
Well, there was Mr. DiDonato before his untimely demise, and Mrs. DiDonato, and the house manager, Mr. Durant. You should talk to him. He must know more about everything around here than anyone.
Where can we find him?
Oh, I don't know if he's here right now, but if he is, he'll be in his office. It's down the hall by the powder room. Don't tell him I sent you. He's not too keen about visitors.
You just told us about the fettuccine. Cops told us where to find the office.
Thanks. If you do want to eat, skip the fettuccine. Try the veal scallopini instead. It's the best thing on the menu. I'll give you the same price.
Thanks. I'll keep that in mind.
I don't know what it is about her, but I like her.
She's brutally honest, just like you. Hold up. Sounds like someone else is being brutally honest.
No. I absolutely refuse to approve something like that.
You don't have a choice, Mrs. DiDonato. Mario said I could have control of this place if he ever died, and he put it in writing.
That may be, but he didn't give you ownership. La Bella Cucina belongs to me, and I have the final say. I'll sell it before I let you make those kind of changes.
No, you won't. You need this place. You need it to show that you're loyal to your husband, even though that's far from the truth.
Oh, what are you insinuating?
I'm insinuating that maybe the wrong person was convicted for poor Mario's murder. I know the truth. You should be happy that I fixed it so no one would suspect you.
Oh, I did not kill Mario. I would never, ever do that. And I would never cheat on him. Whatever you think, it's wrong.
Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. But can you imagine how much damage it would do to your reputation if I let it be known that I caught you and that accountant alone together? No, don't answer. Just mull it over. Only don't mull it over too long. I've got movers coming after closing tonight. I'm going to go finalize a couple of other details. You can handle the rest of lunch.
Quick, tuck into the restroom.
Him, I don't like.
Well, that was terrible grammar, but I agree. Let's go find out what that was all about.
Honey, if there's a complaint, just rip up their check, all right? I can't face anyone right now.
It's not honey, and you need to face us. We're here to help.
Who are you?
Eddie James. This is Susie Beck. We're private detectives.
Did Johnny put you up to this? If he did, forget it. I'm not talking
We're here on behalf of Elaine Culpepper.
Oh. Come in, then. Why did Elaine send you? If she wants our business back, of course she can have it. I've trusted her and Stan for years, and I still do.
So you don't think Stanley Culpepper murdered your husband?
No, I never did. What reason would he have?
If you don't know, then nobody does. Any idea who did do it?
Oh, I know who I want to be guilty.
Johnny Durant, the guy who just walked out.
Yeah.
We happened to overhear your conversation with him.
It was lies. All of it. I didn't kill Mario, and I never, ever cheated on him with anyone.
Oh, easy there. We never thought you did. Why don't you take a seat, Mrs. DiDonato? You look ready to collapse.
I am ready to collapse. Now, our life was busy, kind of boring, but we were happy. Mario was never happier than when he was greeting customers. It warmed my heart to see him happy. It would have been nice to have taken a vacation or two, had kids maybe. But this restaurant was Mario's world, and Mario was my world. So I was okay with the life we had.
Did anyone have a reason to kill him?
Not that I can think of. Well, except Johnny. But he couldn't have done it. He was out of town for a couple of days.
What does he want to change in the restaurant?
Too many things. He wants to change the decor, take some of Mario's favorite dishes off the menu, add another dining room, even change the hours. Now, Mario would have hated all of that, and I won't let it happen. La Bella Cucina was, is, and always will be Mario's restaurant.
Add another dining room? Where?
This building has a basement. It actually was another dining room before we bought the place. Mario closed it because it wasn't nice enough for him down there. And besides, it was hard for staff and customers to get to. The customers can only get to it from the entrance out back in the parking lot because the kitchen is between it and the front. It's still in decent shape. We let the Sons of Italy and a ladies' sewing circle use it as a meeting room. So, why did Elaine send you?
Let's just call it a last attempt to uncover the truth.
I don't blame her. I do the same. Stan's a good man. I know in my heart he's innocent, and my heart has never lied to me. I just wish I could help.
You may have been more help than you realize. I'll let you know if that's true.
Please do. And come back soon. I may have a job for you myself.
Now what?
We need to find out more about this Johnny Durant. Maybe Wayne has something on him.
Leaving already? You're not going to stay for lunch?
Not today. We'll be back, promise. Hey, what do you think of Johnny Durant?
Between you, me, and the lamppost, I do not care for him. He has a funny way of being slick and crude at the same time. Makes me wary, you know? I don't think much of his friends, neither.
His friends come to the restaurant?
All the time. Punks, all of them. They pinch me and laugh about it, and then they never tip. I asked Mr. Durant to make them stop, and they all laugh and say, "Yeah, Mike, make it stop."
They call him Mike.
Yeah, come to think of it, they do. He never thought about it before. One of the guys sometimes calls him Flash. Johnny doesn't like that, though.
Interesting. Any idea how he came to work here?
No clue, sorry. He was here when I started.
Thanks. If you think of anything else, call us. Only do it quick, please. We only have about 10 hours left. Johnny Durant was not a nice man. There was no doubt in my mind about that. Could he be the one who killed Mario DiDonato? Sure sounded like it. But how could he have done it if he was out of town? I needed to verify his alibi. That would take time, though, time we didn't have. There was one other line of inquiry. Those other names Honey said Johnny was called. Finding out if he had an alias, and possibly a record, was going to be a lot quicker.
Back again, huh? You got the whole thing figured out already?
We have part of it, I think. You checked out Johnny Durant, didn't you?
The manager of La Bella Cucina? Sure, he was clean. He was out of town at the time of the murder anyway, as I recall.
Out of town, maybe. Clean? Nah, I don't think so. We heard him threatening Mrs. DiDonato. He claimed that DiDonato gave him carte blanche to run the restaurant the way he saw fit, and she'd better not try to stop him or he'd tell the press she'd been having an affair with Stanley Culpepper.
He'd have a hard time convincing anyone of that. Stanley Culpepper looks exactly how you think an accountant would look. What does he want to do, change the menu?
According to Mrs. DiDonato, everything. No specifics. We did find out from the waitress, however, that he goes by a couple of other names, Mike and Flash. Think the files might have anything on those?
Well, not much I can do with Mike. There must be a million of those in Los Angeles alone. Flash, on the other hand, I might be able to help with. Feeley, come in here.
What's up, sir? Oh, hi, Eddie. Suze.
I need you to look up the name Flash in our nickname file, and do it quick. There's less than 10 hours left.
Sure thing, sir. Suze, you okay? You look upset.
I'm fine. Tough case.
Yeah, of course. I'll be right back, sir.
Still hasn't given it to you, huh?
Nope. Hasn't said one word about it.
Sorry. He hasn't mentioned it to me either.
Mentioned what?
We found a ring that was engraved to SB from DF during the last case. I thought it was Susie's, but she said it wasn't. Danny said it was his.
Oh. Oops.
I think I found something, sir. Michael Flash McGinley. He's been convicted for a few things, including bookmaking, numbers running, and other gambling charges, mostly up north. Hasn't been picked up for a while, though. Here's a mugshot, Eddie.
Sure could be him. I didn't get a good look.
Neither did I, but I agree. And it would explain why he'd want to reopen a dining room that's in a basement.
Unfortunately, it's just conjecture. And it doesn't explain why Culpepper's taking the rap for a murder.
Maybe McGinley used a different threat on him, like killing his wife or something. There's got to be a way to get to the truth. Susie, I want you to find out everything you can about Michael McGinley and his alter ego.
Got it. What are you going to do?
Pick Mrs. Culpepper's brain. Maybe she knows something she doesn't know she knows.
We'll help you, Susie. You're going to need it. You're down to 9 hours and 17 minutes.
Mr. James, please come in. Oh, you don't have news already, do you?
It's Eddie, Mrs. Culpepper, and, no. But I think we may be onto something. I need to ask you a couple of questions.
Oh, of course. Ask me anything. And if you insist I call you Eddie, then you must call me Elaine. Please, have a seat.
Thanks. Did you ever have any dealings with Johnny Durant?
No, not really. I'd see him in the restaurant, of course, and once in a while either Stanley or I would ask him a question about a certain equipment purchase or a till that didn't sum up correctly, but well, that was about it.
Did that happen a lot? The till being off?
Well, no, not often, and never by much. Some of the equipment purchases were more concerning, to be honest. I never could understand what a spaghetti restaurant needed with a half a dozen card tables, for instance. I've never seen them even being used.
You don't say. I may know why a spaghetti restaurant manager needed them. What I can't figure out is how your husband fits in. I know this is a harsh question, and I'm sorry I have to ask it. Did Stanley have any side business with Johnny?
No, not a chance. Well, I don't say that just because he's my husband either. Stan and I did everything together, work and play. I always knew where he was. He would never, ever do anything illegal.
Well, one way or the other, he has. If he didn't kill Mario DiDonato, he lied that he did, and that's a crime in itself. You've never done anything illegal either, I bet.
Me? Never. I've never even had a parking ticket.
Nothing that could have been misconstrued.
No, I swear. Well, I don't think I like what you're hinting at.
What I'm hinting at is blackmail, Elaine. Blackmail of your husband who has a big secret to keep. That has to be the reason your husband is taking the rap. If the blackmailer doesn't have anything real to hold over Stanley's head, then he made it up. I bet it has something to do with you. Think hard. In the meantime, I think it's time to have a talk with Johnny. I had it figured out. Johnny Durant killed Mario DiDonato and made up a story that Stanley Culpepper believed enough to take the murder rap. I needed to prove it, though. I stopped by the station to see how Susie was doing. She had most of the stories of both Michael McGinley and Johnny Durant, but nothing to tie him to the murder. She was waiting for a call to reconfirm Johnny's alibi. I told her to keep at it, then headed back to La Bella Cucina. We were down to just over 7 hours.
Mr. James, do you have news?
I wish I did. I want to talk to Johnny.
Well, he's not back yet, I'm afraid. He should be soon, though. It's almost time for the supper rush.
I'll wait.
Of course. Can I get you a drink while you wait? Maybe a plate of spaghetti?
No, thanks. Would you mind if I take a look around?
I wouldn't mind a bit. In fact, I encourage it. Maybe you can find something that helps both of us, huh? Johnny has a separate office by the back door. Here's a key.
Thanks. There's almost nothing in here. Just a desk, a chair, and a phone. There might be something in the drawers, but if he's due back soon, I don't want to get caught in here. I can wait until I'm sure he's busy. I'll take a look at the basement in the meantime. Huh. This is actually a nice room. With all the red velvet drapes and leather booths, you can forget you're in a basement. I don't know, there seems to be a bulge in behind that drape over there. Wonder what's behind it. Ooh, well. I'm sure Mr. DiDonato would not have approved of roulette as one of Johnny's so-called improvements. I know the cops wouldn't.
No, he wouldn't have. As for the cops, they're never going to know. Don't turn around. Oh, 38, huh? I thought Shamus's preferred 45s.
Nah, too heavy. That will kill just as well.
I know. I prefer 38s myself.
Yeah, like the one that killed DiDonato.
Me? Kill the great Mario DiDonato? It was Stanley Culpepper who did that. He said so himself.
Because you blackmailed him into making a false confession. What you have on him must be a real Lulu to make him forfeit his life.
I don't know what you're talking about. Who are you, anyway?
Eddie James.
Oh, the private dick. Don't tell me, let me guess. Elaine hired you to try and prove her husband's innocence before the switch gets thrown. Not going to happen.
I think it will. I know who really did it, and now I have a great, big, round motive.
Maybe, but it's not going to do you any good. Oh, I'd love to get rid of you now, but there are too many people around, and I need to be seen upstairs. Get on the floor behind the curtain, back against that pole. One of these drapery ropes should hold you. There. Don't bother yelling. I've already soundproofed this room. Didn't want the neighbors to get jealous of all the fun we're going to have down here. And don't try to escape. I'd get you before you took a dozen steps.
Susie, I hope that brilliant brain of yours is on full power. Otherwise, Stanley Culpepper won't be the only innocent who gets it tonight.
I've been through every line of this file twice. There's nothing here that can help. Flash McGinley is a known bunco artist. Flash McGinley is most likely Johnny Durant. Is Johnny Durant Mario DiDonato's killer? I'm guessing yes, but there's not one shred of evidence here. And now we have less than 7 hours to find some.
Sorry. Wish I had more, but that's all there was. He hasn't been arrested in Los Angeles. Yet.
Hopefully that won't last long. Where the heck is Eddie? It shouldn't have taken him this long to question Mrs. DiDonato.
Maybe he ran into Durant and decided to question him too.
Maybe.
Okay. You're upset about something besides this case. I know you. What's going on?
Nothing. I didn't sleep well last night, that's all. I was worried about the license exam.
How did that go?
I passed. I passed the firearms test, too. Sharpshooter level.
Oh, good for you. Do you know how hard it is to pass that level?
It's hard. I heard. I don't know why it wasn't hard for me, but it wasn't. I'd better go look for Eddie. Maybe he's still at the restaurant.
I should go with you.
I can handle a restaurant on my own, thanks.
You're right. You can. But you're too wound up to drive safely. Don't make me get official on you, favorite person.
Favorite person. Fine, let's go.
Suze, you're mad at me. I know you are. What did I do?
Ask your boss. He knows.
Okay, I will. The very next time I see him, then you and I will have it out.
After we save Stanley Culpepper. Now we only have 6 hours left.
Good evening. Oh, I remember you. You're Eddie's partner, Susie, right?
That's me. This is Sergeant Dan Feeley. Did Eddie come to see you?
Yes, an hour or so ago. He wanted to speak with Johnny, who wasn't here at the time. I said he'd look around while he waited. He must have left when I was in the office, because he's not here now.
Oh, it's not like Eddie not to say goodbye. Is Johnny around?
Yeah. He's over by the cash register. The handsome one with the wavy chestnut hair.
He may be handsome to some women, but I prefer my men more cop-like. Thanks.
Hello, welcome to La Bella Cucina. Table for two?
Answers for two. I'm Sergeant Feeley, and this is Susie Beck. Did you speak to an Eddie James this afternoon?
Eddie James. Oh, name doesn't ring a bell. I meet so many people here, as you can imagine. What does he look like?
6'1", 185, black hair, blue eyes. You can tell he has muscles even through a suit jacket. He's a private detective, and my boss.
Oh, him. Sure, I talked to him. Just for a minute, though. Then he left. I thought he might have left the iron on from the look he had.
Maybe he found a clue, went to follow up on it, Suze?
Maybe. Mind if we take a look around?
Oh, not at all. It's pretty quiet right now. I'll show you around myself. Not that there's much to look at.
I'd like to see the basement. I heard there's an unused dining room down there.
The basement? Sure. Sure, this way. There's not much to see here, Sergeant. Miss Beck, be careful on the stairs. They're old and I wouldn't want anyone to trip and fall.
You're right. There isn't much here. Just a bunch of booze and tables. Pretty nice, though. Too bad you can't use his room.
Oh, we will. I have plans.
Did you show this room to Mr. James?
No. Like I said, I talked to him for a minute, then he left.
I think you're right, Danny. I think Eddie did go chasing off after a clue. He's probably at the office wondering where I am. We should go find out. Thanks, Mr. Durant.
Oh, you're welcome. How did you know my name?
Mrs. DiDonato told us when we questioned her earlier.
Oh, of course. That explains everything. Well, I should get back on the floor myself.
Thanks again. If Eddie does show up here, please have him call his office.
I'll be sure and do that. And come back for supper sometime. On me.
So, where do you think Eddie went?
Nowhere. He's in that restaurant somewhere, and not because he wants to be.
How do you know?
Because I found this on one of the tables in the basement.
Hey, that's his business card.
Yeah. Let's go get your boss. Forget Culpepper. We need to save Eddie.
I knew Susie would come looking for me, and I knew she'd find that card, and guess what happened? I also knew Durant would open fire in a heartbeat if I tried to make myself known. So I sat still and waited for Susie to hatch a plan. She hatched one, all right.
I'm glad you two are back. I have news.
So do we. We're positive Johnny Durant has kidnapped Eddie and is holding him somewhere in the restaurant.
What? How do you know?
Durant said he didn't show Eddie the basement, yet I found one of Eddie's business cards down there. We've got to get him out of there.
We will. Don't panic. I'm not sure if that makes my news bad or good.
What is it, sir?
I got word from an informant that Durant was going to sneak in a bunch of gambling equipment into the restaurant tonight. Poker tables, cards, chips, roulette. That's his big plan, to run a gambling house after hours.
I get it. La Bella Cucina has a reputation for being a clean establishment. What better place to slip in a little poker? That's why it's so important to him.
Exactly. I've already informed Bunko. They're planning a stakeout of the place. They'll raid it as soon as they see the stuff going in.
But they can't. They do that and Durant will kill Eddie for sure.
Good point. Let's go tell them about this new wrinkle. That wasn't all of my news, by the way. I double-checked Durant's alibi for the night of the murder. There are at least 4 people who swear they saw Durant at the pool of the hotel he was staying in Palm Springs during the day, and others saw him later that night at a party. But no one actually remembers seeing him after about 9 o'clock. One person remembers him saying he had a headache and was going to retire early. He was seen at breakfast the next morning, so everyone questioned thought he was at the hotel the whole time. I found a doorman who admitted seeing his car leave the grounds around 10. No one had asked him anything before.
Oh, jeez. Doesn't that figure? But is it enough to bring to the governor?
No, but maybe we'll get something tonight. Jim, we have a problem. By the way, this is Susie Beck. She works with Eddie. Susie, Lieutenant Jim Nelson.
Pleasure. What's the problem?
Susie found evidence that Durant's holding Eddie. A raid is out.
What? But this is the best chance we've had to catch this guy. We can't lose it now.
Hang on. There may be a way to catch him and rescue Eddie. Durant invited Danny and me to have dinner on him. Why don't we go take him up on it? I'd bet anything Eddie's in that basement somewhere. I'll get Mrs. DiDonato's keys, then pretend to take a trip to the powder room and run down and look for him. Danny, you can keep Durant busy while I look.
I like it. We'll be in place already, so if anything goes wrong, we can jump in. You want in, Wayne?
You bet I do.
Good. Anything else?
Yeah, I still have another life to save, Stanley Culpepper's. I'm convinced Durant is involved, especially because he kidnapped Eddie. We need to get the real story from him before they pull the switch at midnight.
We'd better get set up quick then. Feeley, you and Miss Beck go get gussied up. We'll be in place 2 hours max, which will give you two a little over an hour to get your confession and us a big, juicy bad guy.
You look so beautiful tonight, Susie.
I don't know how. I'm so full of nervous energy, I feel like I have ants in my veins instead of blood.
Oh, brother. How about saying thanks, Danny, at least?
I change for no man. Where's Durant?
Talk to the couple in the window booth.
Don't take your eyes off him. Here comes Mrs. DiDonato as per the plan. Play innocent.
Susie, glad to see you tonight.
Johnny invited us to come for dinner sometime. We happen to have tonight free.
I'm glad. It's hard for me to believe even Johnny could do something that bad, but I kind of hope he did. Here are the keys. Be careful. Let me take your order. What will you have?
We'll both have the special, please, and a bottle of Chianti.
2 specials and a Chianti. I think we have enough left for 2. It's been a busy night. I'm glad we're closing soon, huh? I'll be right back.
Now what's he doing?
He's heading for the kitchen. Wait. Mrs. DiDonato stopped him. She's gesturing toward the bar. 2 guys who look just like Lieutenants Hadley and Nelson just came in and sat there.
Sounds like my cue. Fingers crossed.
Everything's crossed. Come back to me in one piece, favorite person.
I'd better make this look good. Into the ladies' room. Oh, good. There's a decent-sized window. Out I go. Are you in here?
Susie, behind the drapes. I knew you'd find my card. What's going on?
Oh, just a big fat sting. And Wayne found a hole in Durant's alibi that's a mile wide. First things first, let's get out of here.
I don't think you're going anywhere. Not on your own 2 feet, anyway. Hands up and don't try any tricks. This is your gun, Eddie. Try anything, and I shoot her and put the blame on you.
Nobody would buy it, Durant. Or I should say, McGinley. Yeah, I do know who you are, and so do the cops. We know everything, except one thing. What did you say to Stanley Culpepper to make him take your rap?
Seeing as it's too late to change anything, I'll tell you. I told him his wife had been making me a second set of books for the restaurant, one that was specifically for my new back room. I told him she was in deep, getting a cut and everything, and if he wanted to keep her out of jail, that he'd take the rap for me. He'd do anything for her, so he agreed.
But she knows nothing about the gambling.
Not a thing. Stanley didn't see me shoot Mario, but he overheard me telling somebody about it. That's why he became my stooge. Enough talking. I've got to get rid of you two before my men get here. Hope you like heaven.
We won't know for a long time.
Ah! What the... How did you... What a shot. You got him square in the shooting shoulder, Susie.
Thanks to the 32 in my garter holster. Couldn't have him dying now. He has a lot to confess, not to mention pay for.
Hadley and I heard the whole thing. Wayne's on the phone to the governor right now. He's got just enough time to get that chair plug pulled. Nice to see you alive, Eddie James.
Nice to be seen, Jim Nelson. Let's get this case wrapped up. Maybe a plate of spaghetti. I'm starving.
Thanks for seeing us, Eddie, Susie. I cannot thank you two enough for what you did. It was nothing less than a miracle.
I agree. There isn't enough money in the world to pay you. You saved my life. But we'd like you at least to have this check for $500.
Thanks. Happy to do it. I hear the governor's waiving all charges against you?
Yes, with our testimony they can wipe out an entire gambling ring. So he thought it would be the least he could do. Gina wants us to help her run the restaurant now, which we are happy to do.
Hi. Oh, sorry to interrupt.
It's fine. Come on in, Danny.
Thanks. Susie, could I see you out in the hall?
Okay.
What's that all about?
I think it's about a misunderstanding and a big question.
What? Oh, Danny.
Oh, I hope that was a yes.
Thank you for listening to another episode of The Case Files of Eddie James, brought to you by Bizzo Soap, the versatile soap that can't be beat for dishes, gets your white laundry sparkling white, keeps the colors of the rest of your laundry at their brand new brilliance, and yet is gentle enough for washing your hands and face. One soap for so many uses, which saves the savvy housewife time and money. Bizzo Soap for the Bizzo busy woman. Tonight's cast included Lauren Baumbauer, Val Kuhns, Max Levine, Mike Luce, Richard Tatum, Raishel Wasserman, and Keith Wright. Story by Val Kuhns, sound patterns by Val Kuhns. This has been a Q Footsteps production.
Nalamsha.
Nalamsha? Nalamsha.
Nalamsha and a white sauce and spaghetti.
Actually, I'd love some spaghetti.
Well, we can say perspicacity, apparently. It's just not the lines on the page. Yeah.
It's funnier that way.
It's a tough word, we.